Hello, my dear viewers. Welcome to my channel, Little Ladybug. Today I am going to deliver my lecture on Senecan Tragedy. That is very important one in the beginning of drama. So, under English drama, you might have known to the term Senecan Tragedy. So, today in this lecture, I am going to deliver and to explain Senecan Tragedy and its concepts, themes, ideas, beginning with an origin and how it is applied in drama. Shall we? Okay. Senecan Tragedy. So before we move into all the slides, we must know that the term what is Senecan or Senecan Tragedy. So Senecan Tragedy refers to a set of 10 ancient Roman tragedies, among which 8 were written by the Stoic philosopher and politician Lucius Aeneas Seneca. So now, who is this Seneca? We will see. Lucius Seneca, who was a prominent playwright of 1st century. He was famous for helping shape the genre called revenge tragedy with his 10 plays. 10 plays, we will see what are those 10 plays now. So these are the 10 plays, which starts from Hercules, Uranus, Rhodes, Phoenice, Medea, Phaedra, Oedipus, Agamemnon, Thyestes, Hercules, Octavius, and Octavia. So these are the 10 plays which are believed that these plays were written by the Stoic philosopher Lucius Seneca. So these are the 10 plays. And what is the origin of these Senecan tragedy? So the Senecan tragedies are written in blank verse during the 1st century AD. And it was rediscovered by the Italian humanists in the mid 16th century. And it is a model for French neoclassical tragedy and Elizabethan tragedy. And the importance of Senecan plays lies in the difficulty of the period. So, in those times, Elizabethan tragedy was considered more acceptable, and revenge tragedy sought to unleash the carnal side of human nature on stage. It was a transitional time in the literary world, and the infamous scene like most horrible scenes like cannibalism, feast in Thyestes, that is one of the plays of Lucius Seneca, who introduced the cannibalism was introduced to the audience in another dimension of human experience. So here, Seneca Theastus, it is a tale of revenge, horror, with prominent cannibalism, which can be identified as one of the first revenge piece, that is Theastus, written by Lucius Seneca. So this play is a tale of revenge and horror with a prominent theme of cannibalism, which was portrayed in this drama. And that was the first piece, revenge piece, where you come across two brothers, that is Atreus and Theastus, both brothers who struggle to get power through the means of revenge, through the theme of revenge. So here the story goes on like that. After a long period of exile of Theastus, who is allowed to return to his country. But the conflict escalates between his brother Atreus and Theastus after his banishment too, and Atreus goes to the extent of taking revenge by tricking Theastus into eating his own children. So, how horrible the event! We can't even imagine that will happen, that could have happened in story. In Thomas Sackville also, Thomas Norton's Gorbadak, which also could be found what is considered by many to be an exact representation of Senecan revenge drama. So not only Senecan, after Senecan tragedy, there are so many dramas got inspired by Senecan. So one such drama is Thomas Norton's Gorbadak. It is followed by Senecan revenge. And then what are the features of the Senecan tragedy? So how we can classify the tragedy as Senecan tragedy? So the Senecan tragedy is the model for all the tragedies which followed later. Here in Senecan tragedy, the plot structure is the drama has 5 acts with choral odes, and then there is a elaborate rhetorical speeches are available in that Senecan tragedy, and then you can see more scenes of violence and horror on the stage, and then it follows unity of time, place, everything. The plays are mostly written to be recited to our elite gatherings. The characters are dominated by a single passion or ambition which drive them to their own doom or death or their end. These are the distinct features of Senecan tragedy. And what are the technical devices which have been used in Senecan tragedy? That is, long soliloquies are the one of the characteristics of Senecan tragedy, along with asides. And then next one is confidence. What is confidence? That is a person whom you trust, share your secret or your plan with others. In a present scenario, we could say that you ye to Brutus, so like that, and then traitor or betrayal. So you are betrayed by someone whom you trust. So that is called confidence. So uh, nowadays, even fictions and dramas, you could not avoid the characters who betrayed each other, who became traitor. So for those all those characters, cunning and tyrannical characters, what is the model for that? That is, the Senecan tragedy is the model for all such horrible, death, violent incidents. So this is the model. And then fourth one is supernatural elements and superstitious beliefs. So you could have noticed in Dr. Foster's pre-university wits, so dramas of pre-university wits and the dramas of Elizabethan period, especially in Shakespeare plays, all the tragedies you may come across the characteristics of Senecan tragedy, especially supernatural elements and superstitious beliefs. And then themes. What are the themes? That is bloodthirsty, revenge, jealous, crime, betrayal, banishment, death, murder, bloodshed, war. So these are the bloodthirsty themes you could notice in Senecan tragedy. Senecans, we will come to the Senecans' influence on theatre history. First influenced by Senecan theatre was French neoclassical tragedy, and later Elizabethan tragedy drew inspired from Seneca. French neoclassical dramatists like Pierre Corneille and Jean Racine adopted Seneca's form and style too. An Elizabethan dramatist like Thomas Cade, Spanish tragedy is one such example of Senecan tragedy. And Shakespeare also adopted Seneca's themes of bloodthirsty revenge in his plays. Okay. Next one is influence of Senecan or Elizabethan tragedy. Influence of Senecan concepts or themes in Elizabethan tragedy. In Corbedeck, that was written by Thomas Sackville and Thomas Norton, is a chain of slaughter and revenge written in direct imitation of Seneca. Okay. And next influence is Thomas Cade's Spanish tragedy in 1587 that continued the Senecan tradition of tragedy of blood with somewhat more sophistication than Gorbachev, but even more bloodletting. So if you read Spanish Tragedy by Thomas Cade, you may notice all the characteristics of Senecan tragedy, that is betrayal, banishment, punishment, revenge, murder, and then confident, everything you could observe when you read Spanish Tragedy by Thomas Cade. Next, we will come to our legendary hero of drama and the masterpiece of dramatic career, that is our Shakespeare, William Shakespeare, who has adopted several characteristics of Senecan tragedy in his tragedies. Characters such as Hamlet, King Lear, Macbeth, Othello, all are connected to the tradition of Senecan tragedy. So, if you understand the Senecan tragedy, the concepts, themes, and the characteristics, whatever you read, whether it is a novel or fiction or any creative writing, if you notice all those concepts, it could be the model on, formed on, or the basement or the foundation of which is Senecan tragedy or Senecan drama. Okay, so here you may notice such characteristics in Shakespeare's plays too. One such play is Titus Andronicus. The play is a Senecan tragedy as the central characters die in a very stoic manner. Shakespeare adopts the theme of bloodthirsty revenge in the play Titus Andronicus, and cannibalism and the excess of awe in the play are influenced by Senecan tragedy, that is Theastus, written by Lucius Seneca. Our next play is Macbeth. Shakespeare used soliloquies in his tragedies. You may find in almost all the tragedies, you may find soliloquies. Plenty of asides are used by Shakespeare in order to portray the unique characteristics of the character. So the original, the personality, or the psychology of the character are revealed through aside and soliloquies. So in Macbeth, not only in Macbeth, King Lear, Othello, and Hamlet. So all those four major tragedies, you may find all those aspects of Senecan tragedy. In Macbeth alone, there are 7 soliloquies said by Macbeth in that play. Our next play is Hamlet. One of the prominent attributes of Senecan tragedy is the use of supernatural elements. So, supernatural elements you may find in Hamlet and Macbeth too. And then superstitious beliefs you may find in uh, Julius Caesar Othello, Antony and Cleopatra, uh, and other tragic plays, you may find all those characteristics of elements of Senecan tragedy. So, in Hamlet, supernatural element, that is, the old king's ghost appear to Hamlet, and the notion of purgatory are seen in Hamlet. Okay, and the next one. So, this is how Senecan tragedy could be well explained by the elements of Senecan tragedy, how it is incorporated in all the dramatists who followed Seneca later. So I have given you few examples, starting from the Middle Age till Middle Age and till Shakespeare period. I have given you that what are the plays who follow the Senecan tragedy, concepts of Senecan tragedy, characteristics of Senecan tragedy. So I thought the origin of Senecan tragedy with Lucius Seneca and his plays, how these plays are modeled for the other dramatists who came after him, just as Gorboduc and Gorboduc by Thomas Norton, and next one is Thomas Kate's Spanish tragedy, and followed by Shakespeare's all other tragedies. So this is how we could Senecan tragedy could be well explained, and how it is a model for the other dramas who followed Seneca tradition. With this one, let me conclude Senecan tragedy. And one more example I forget to mention, that is revenge tragedies. Revenge tragedies include Jew of Malta by Christopher Marlowe, and Antonio's Revenge by John Marston, and The Revenge of Basie de Abus by George Chapman. And then Francis Bacon essay, that is of revenge. All those uh, follow the Senecan tragedy, the model of Senecan tragedy. They follow the concepts and the themes of Senecan tragedy. So, with this one, let me conclude my lesson, Senecan tragedy. I hope that all of you understand the Senecan concept and how all those themes are incorporated in the plays and the novels of modern era or contemporary world. Also, we come across violence, death, bloodshed, war, revenge, betrayal, banishment that happen even now. Uh, um, that means that continued even now. No one can stop, no one can prevent. But Shakespeare beautifully illustrated in the last place of Shakespeare that that is not uh, revenge is not the only way uh, to find solace or find satisfaction, but at last he finds that forgiveness and reconciliation is very important for the smooth running of life, to have the peaceful life to lead. So he understands, that's why he created he presented characters who could forgive each other, and who could reunite with their parents and reunite with their lovers in the last place of Shakespeare. So, in this, what is the takeaway message through this Senecan tragedy is revenge is not the means to solve the problem. So, one must have a tendency to forgive and forget. Only then world can live very peacefully. So, with this note, let me conclude my lecture on revenge, Senecan tragedy. Thank you for watching my lecture today in my channel, Lit Ladybug. I will see you in the next class with yet another interesting topic. Thank you so much.